Little Johnny's teacher asked him if he knew what sex was. Little Johnny stands up and he says sex is a temptation caused by a sensation where a guy puts his location into a girl's destination to increase the population of the next generation. Now, do you understand my explanation? Or do you need a demonstration? Little Johnny gets on the bus and sits right behind the bus driver because he's always getting in trouble. He starts mumbling to himself. He says, well, if my dad is a bull and my mom is a cow, well, that would make me a little bull. And if my dad was a rooster and my mom was a hen, well, that would make me a little chick. The bus driver's already sick and tired of listening to little Johnny. He says, all right, little Johnny, how about this? If your dad is a drunk and your mom's a whore, well, what does that make you? Well, Johnny smiles and he says, a bus driver. Johnny and his girlfriend are going to a costume party. His girlfriend comes downstairs and she's wearing nothing but boots. And she says, what are you doing? She says, I'm going as Puss in Boots. He says, okay. He goes into the kitchen, cuts a potato in half and puts it right over the top of his pecker. He comes back out in the living room. She says, well, what are you going as? He says, well, if you can go as Puss in Boots, I can go as dictator. Teacher asked little Johnny, there's 4 doves sitting on a fence. If you shoot one of those doves off, how many are left? Well, Johnny thinks a little bit and he says, well, there'd be none. Once you shot the first one, the other 3 would fly away. Teacher says, well, the correct answer is 3, but I like the way you're thinking. Little Johnny says, well, I got one for you, Teach. There's 3 women that went and got ice cream cones, and one of the ladies is licking the ice cream off the side. The other lady's biting the ice cream off the top, and the other lady's sucking the ice cream off the top. Which one of those ladies is married? Teacher gets a little red in the face, and she says, well, I would assume it's the one that's sucking the ice cream off the top. Little Johnny smiles and said, well, the correct answer is the one with the ring on her finger, the wedding ring. But I like the way you're thinking. Sunday school teacher asked the little kids if they know where Jesus is. Little Billy says, Jesus is in heaven. And little Susie raised her hand. She says, Jesus is in my heart. And then little Johnny's in the back room jumping up and down, and the teacher doesn't want to answer him, but she says, all right, little Johnny, where is Jesus? Little Johnny says, Jesus is in my bathroom. Teacher says, okay, well, what makes you think Jesus is in your bathroom? He says, well, every single morning, my dad knocks on the door because my sister's in the bathroom, and he says, Jesus Christ, are you in there? Little Johnny's teacher said, today, class, I want you to give me a word that ends in T-O-R and that eats something. Little Susie raises her hand. She says, alligator. Teacher says, oh, that's a really good one, little Susie, and alligators eat lots of things. Little Billy raises his hand, and he says, predator. Teacher says, oh, that's a really, really good one. She says, predators, they'll eat anything. Little Johnny raises his hand. He says, vibrator. Teacher says, oh, little Johnny, yes, it does end in T-O-R, but it doesn't eat anything. Little Johnny says, oh, ma'am, you're wrong. My mom's always screaming about how that vibrator eats batteries like crazy. One day, little Johnny walks in on his dad as he's in the shower. He looks down at his dad. He says, what is that? He says, that's my nerve. Little Johnny says, wow. He says, don't worry. One day yours will be as big as mine. And little Johnny doesn't think anything of it and goes to school the next day and sitting in class, and he raises his hand and says, teacher, I really got to use the bathroom. She says, no, little Johnny, you're going to have to wait. So 5 minutes go by, and he raises his hand again. Teacher, I really got to go. She says, nope, you're going to have to wait. Another 5 minutes go by, and he can't take it anymore. He gets up and he goes to the bathroom right over in the corner garbage can in the class. She looks over at him and she says, little Johnny, you sure do have some nerve. Little Johnny looks over and smiles and he says, you think I do? You should see my dad's. Teacher says, little Johnny, what do you want to be when you grow up? He says, I want to be a billionaire. And then I'm going to go to the most expensive club in Vegas and I'm going to find me a hoe. And then I'm going to buy her a skyrise apartment. I'm going to buy her a Ferrari. I'm going to buy her a Lamborghini. I'm going to buy her all kinds of jewelry. And I'm going to buy her a beachfront house on Malibu. And we're going to have sex 3 to 5 times a day. Teacher's a little perplexed by this. And she says, okay, little Susie, what do you want to be when you grow up? Little Susie smiles and she says, I want to be Johnny's hoe. Little Johnny was talking to his dad the night before Christmas, and his dad said, well, you know, little Johnny, you better stop swearing so much or you're not going to get anything. Little Johnny says, I already know what I want. He says, when I wake up in the morning, I want a fucking brand new BB gun at the foot of my bed. And when I go downstairs, I want a fucking new toy train set underneath the Christmas tree. And then when I go outside, I want a fucking brand new bike up against the garage. Little Johnny wakes up in the morning, and at the foot of his bed is a big old heaping pile of dog crap. And then he goes downstairs under the tree, there's another pile of dog crap. And then when he goes out, up against the garage is another pile of dog crap. Little Johnny starts crying. His dad says, oh, did you learn your lesson? He says, I don't know, Dad. He says, I think I got a puppy for Christmas, but I can't fucking find it. Johnny's mom decides he's old enough to have an anatomy lesson. So she takes off her pants and she points to her vagina and she says, this is vagina and this is where you came from. So he says, okay, and doesn't say a whole lot until he goes to school the next day, and he goes to his friends. He says, all right, guys, you can no longer call me Little Johnny. From here on out, I'm Lucky Johnny. I'm like, well, you've always been Little Johnny. Why? What makes you so lucky? He says, oh, I'm very lucky. He says, my mom told me that I was this close to becoming a turd. One day, Little Johnny was sitting on the front porch with two of his friends. Little Jimmy said, my daddy is the best. He can eat 4 cheeseburgers in one sitting. Little Billy says, that's nothing. My dad can eat 6 cheeseburgers in one sitting. Little Johnny says, my dad can eat light bulbs. The boy said, light bulbs? What do you mean your dad can eat light bulbs? He says, it's true. He said, last night I was walking past my parents' bedroom and I heard my dad said, hey, honey, turn off that light because I want to eat that thing. Little Johnny's teacher asked him to tell a story with a moral in it. So he thinks about it for a little bit. He says, okay, I got one. There's this cat walking down by the river and notices that there's some Vienna sausages floating by. So it jumps in and gets its paws wet. The next day, down by the river again, sees some hot dogs floating by. Cat jumps in the river and gets its legs wet. Well, the very next day, it's down there again. Sees some big old summer sausages floating by. Cat jumps in to get them. Whole body gets wet. Teacher says, okay, that's a good story, but where's the moral? He says, the moral is, the bigger the sausage, the wetter the pussy. Little Johnny and his buddy both go onto this farm and start stealing some fruit. Well, the farmer catches them and pulls them on up to the farm. He says, all right, you boys, I want you to go out and go pick 100 pieces of your favorite fruit. So little Johnny goes out and he comes back first and he's got 100 grapes. Farmer says, all right, I want you to take them and shove them all up your ass. Little Johnny starts shoving them up his butt and he gets all the way to the end and just starts laughing. Farmer says, what are you laughing about? He says, well, grapes happen to be my favorite fruit, but my buddy little Billy over there, his favorite fruit, pineapples. Little Johnny was in geometry class and the teacher was writing some problems up on the board, and she turns around and sees that the kids just aren't understanding anything. She says, you know, kids, if you would just stop and think about something, the longer you think about it, it's going to get easier and easier. And little Johnny says, ma'am, I know that's not true. He says, last night I was thinking about you, and it just kept getting harder and harder.